Welcome back, my amazing 5th grade artists. For this project, we'll be focusing on my personal favorite artist, Vincent Van Gogh, and he was an Impressionist painter. Who was Vincent Van Gogh? Vincent was an Impressionist painter. He loved to paint using thick brushstrokes and loved to paint what he felt that movement would look like. How can we show movement in art? We can show movement in our artwork by using different lines, shapes, and textures. If we take a look at some of these pictures below, you'll see that there are different lines that go in different directions that give us the illusion that it might be moving. And in the center with the eye, you can see the thick brush strokes with paint and using texture to make it look like it sticks out of the paper. Another way that artists used texture to show movement in their painting was a style called Imposto style painting. An impasto is a technique used in painting where paint is laid out on an area or surface in very thick layers, usually thick enough that the brush or painting knife strokes are visible. So as you can see the swirls of the wind, and he uses those thick brush strokes to show movement. Vincent van Gogh's famous The Starry Night painting. Vincent van Gogh painted the starry night from looking out of his window. He loved the way the sky looked as if it were moving. He would say he could see the wind. He used the impasto style of painting to capture the movements in each brushstroke as he painted the night sky and the wind blowing by. Vincent van Gogh's sunflowers. One of Vincent van Gogh's favorite things to paint were sunflowers. He felt that sunflowers were a sign of gratitude and should always be celebrated. He painted 11 different paintings of different sunflowers. He even painted one of the sunflowers 3 different times. Which leads us into our next project, a Van Gogh-inspired sunflower. Our learning goal for this project is a mixed media, and a mixed media is when we produce a work of art through mixed media or fibers that utilizes multiple processes. Our learning targets for this project are: I can use texture in my art, I can use movement in my art, and I can create artwork inspired by other artists. The materials you'll need today are a piece of white paper, some crayons, and watercolor paints. All right, boys and girls, let's get started. All right, boys and girls, I want you to set up your paper so that it is vertical, long way up and down, or hamburger style. And what we're going to do is we're going to create the background for our sunflower to sit on, and we're going to use crayons and watercolor paint. So I want you to think about how Van Gogh created those windy movements and the swirly lines that he showed in his paintings. I want you to go ahead and add some windy lines. So you could use spiral lines, you could use some curved lines, and I want you to go ahead and pick a few crayons, push hard. The harder that you push with your crayon when you're creating these lines, the brighter it's going to be when you paint over top of it. Next, I want you to get a crayon, and we're going to add some dashed lines around our windy lines. Now, in Van Gogh's Starry Night, he showed some thick brush strokes with that impasto style painting, and we're going to show that by using dashed lines and our crayon. Next, I want you to go ahead and add some little stars. So we're going to draw some circles and color them in. And then you're going to take a crayon and go around it, pushing hard with your crayon, because again, it's going to pop out a lot brighter when we paint over top of it. Now I want you to choose a few colors of watercolor paint that you can use to go ahead and paint over top of all of the swirls that we just drew. You can choose to mix different colors on your paper. Just make sure that you rinse your brush before you change to the next color to keep your paints nice and clean. Go ahead and paint over top of all of your white spots and watch those beautiful texture creations pop out of your page. Now put your project somewhere safe so we can continue working on it next week. See you next time, boys and girls.